I think people often get very bogged down in sort of how many streams they're going to get from a playlist or this, that, or the other. But I think the thing that's really important is triggering the algorithm itself. Yep. And if you trigger the algorithm and Spotify Radio and, Discover Weekly and all the other algorithmic playlists, if you get on them, and you will only get on them if Spotify sees people liking your song, saving your song, listening to your song, which does mean getting on other user playlists. That's very, very helpful.
You're listening to the Inside the Mix podcast with your host, Marc Matthews.
Hey folks, welcome to Inside the Mix. Welcome back if you are a returning listener, and if you're a new listener or viewer, if you're watching this on YouTube, a big welcome again. In this episode, for the final time in 2025, I am joined by my good friend and co-host from the county adjoining Devon, Tim Benson, aka Isle. Tim, how are you? How are things?
I'm all right. I'm a little bit post a dose of the lovely COVID, but I'm all right. Yeah. I think we were discussing this off air, weren't we, about COVID? It's weird. So it's a weird one. It goes all quiet, and then suddenly somebody gets COVID, and then you remember it's a thing. Exactly. Yeah, we all forget it, and then suddenly. Yeah, I didn't the other week, and couple of weeks actually. It's taken me to just sort of begin to feel a bit more normal again. So,
it does knock you off your feet. I mean, I'm quite lucky. Touch wood, it's been about 3 years since I've had it, to be fair. So
good.
And long may that continue. Especially, spoiler alert here for anyone who does care. At the point of recording this is the 27th of October. I'm getting married on the 31st on Halloween.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
Fingers crossed I don't get it before then.
No.
Because, my other half, she would not be happy.
No.
There'd be no sympathy for me.
Yeah, you just have to not see anybody between now and then.
Which is quite good the way I work. So generally, that's pretty much what happens. Don't really see everything's done virtually, so it works out quite well. Yeah. This episode, folks, is in my notes here. We're wrapping up the year with a reflective episode. Now, appreciate at the time this episode goes live, which is going to be around mid-November. It's not really the end of the year. But as we approach the end of the year, I'm going to be doing more sort of episodes where I'm going to be hosting other podcasts that I listen to. So exchanging RSS feeds and just letting you in on some of the podcasts I listen to. And they've kindly allowed me to share their content on Inside the Mix and a couple of other episode formats as well. So this is going to be really the last opportunity that I get to chat with Tim, for example, about what we're going to be doing differently in 2026 with regards to our sort of creative path. But I touched on their last episodes, folks. Before we dive into that, I am actually building up curating ideas for Inside the Mix in 2026. And there is a link in the episode description. Do click on that link because I'd love your feedback, your input on what you enjoy about the podcast, and maybe also what you would like to hear or see from the podcast in 2026, or maybe a format that you're not a particular fan of that you'd like to see less of. So always reflective. So please do click on that link, and you can also share your win of 2025 and get it featured on episode 227, which is going to air on December the 30th. So in that episode, I'll be sharing your win. So please do click on that link. Let me know what's going well with the podcast, maybe what could be improved in 2026, and also your win. And you've got until November the 29th to do that, if memory serves. So that's my call to action out the way. So in this episode, we're really looking at what we're going to be doing differently in 2026. So I think, as I do with all these ones, I've whittled on for a bit now. So maybe I'll throw the microphone over to you, Tim. So thoughts and reflections, maybe what you'll do differently or maybe develop. Different might be the wrong word. Progress. Something positive. Well,
I'm sort of, it feels a little bit early in the year, doesn't it, to be having like, sort of new ideas for 2026, but I feel like I have to have that after I've eaten Christmas pudding. But like, I'm sort of, I feel like, I've had a really good year with my music. Actually, it's done, well, and I've had sort of a further reach and
more streams and things than I have before, monthly listeners and stuff. So that's been good. I think though, one thing I want to sort of, work on and sort of drum down on really is my sort of process, because I sort of think I was working this out. It's sort of a little bit contradictory, but on one hand, I want to sort of streamline my process so that I'm getting tracks done quicker, that they're taking a bit less time, which I think will mean sort of working on things like creating more presets, saving more things within my DAW to sort of speed up my process, templates and things. I'll have to do my 2026 template because it will probably be nothing like my 2025 template. But, sort of work on some things like that in the background and sample libraries and things. I always find there's stuff to do like that if I get it a bit more honed in, sort of saves me time. But at the same time, I want to try and not sort of end up doing stuff by sort of numbers and like sort of, you don't want to make your tracks less creative by doing that. So I want to be more creative and quicker. And I think the two may be a little hard to sort of sit against each other because
you need to sort of like find a happy medium between the two.
Yeah.
If you were to like identify one challenge or friction point at the moment that stops you from like being more prolific, what would you say it is?
Yeah, it's probably our dogs needing a walk. No, it's just as I'm hitting that brilliant spot, it's like, no, it's 3:00 and I have to take you for a walk. No, no, I don't know. It's time. Time is often a constraint, and sort of not. Often time management though. It's funny. It's like earlier today. It's like the amount of time I spent like trying to edit a sound and like sort of, and then I decide, you've got a preset and you start editing it and then you end up going like, do you know what? I don't like this. I've spent like sort of, 3/4 of an hour editing a sound and now I prefer the original preset, or in fact I might just scrap that track and go and look for a different sound entirely. So I think it's that sort of thing of knowing when you're getting bogged down in something and when you need to stop and come out of it. But of course that's difficult because sometimes it could be really, really creative. But I do sort of find I'm sort of losing pockets of time in certain directions. So it's streamlining that somehow,
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because the song I released, Narcissist, there's a lead synth that I use in that, in the chorus. And I remember when I was writing that and I came up with a melody. And I was like, I just need a sound to stick in there just so I got something so I can hear what it's going to sound like. And I wasn't, like you said there, I messed around for a bit and I was like, oh, this will do for now. And then I didn't touch it again for 2 or 3 weeks because I was working on some other stuff. And I came back to it. And then I was just like, yeah, that'll do. I'll leave that in. And I just rolled with it, didn't touch it again. So it's one of those ones where I find time often helps. I find that helps me a lot when I'm getting in my own head with like sounds in particular. And then I'll just leave it for long enough that I forget. Then come back to it and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it might be as a result of me thinking, I just need to release this and get it out. And then I just settled for the sound that is there. But no, I find that often helps, stepping away. And I think working on other people's stuff in between really did help because I could really disassociate myself from that project and then come back to it. But you can come back and have a fresh. I mean, I say walking the dogs can be a negative thing. Of course, it can be a really positive thing. If you've been working all day, you go out, have some fresh air, you come back, you listen to something afresh, and you can go like, oh, actually, that's working quite well. I like that. Or you go like, nah, I really must stop putting lots of energy into this. This isn't right. Leave it. Start a new project or something. But sort of. I think it's really helpful if you've kind of done the legwork behind, and obviously, I mean, you and I both sort of do this a lot, so you obviously have got your sort of systems in place, but like sometimes it is just really helpful, like going, I mean, it's like a while ago I created some battery, because I use Native Instruments battery quite a lot for my drums, and I created sort of
whole sort of sets in battery of like a whole kit, for instance, of kick drums, a whole kit that's just snare drums, a whole kit that's just hi-hats, whatever, which might sound like an odd idea, but I like to have them each on individual tracks, not the whole kit on one track. So I will have my kick drum pattern on one track, so I can EQ it and do what I want with it. But then it's really handy if you've got all the kicks you like the best in one kit, because then you can just cycle through them all and go, which kit's working best here, and you've got them. You can even process them and stuff in the plugin a little bit, and sort of have things pretty kind of near ready to go. So that kind of thing can save you a lot of time, but of course it takes a lot of time to put into getting those sort of things in a good place.
I used to do that. Admittedly, I haven't done it in a while, to be fair. But much like you, I'm in Logic with the sampler instrument. I would just have a library of kicks, a library of snares.
Yeah,
and I would have them. I think at the time it was like I had a folder just of like Lindrum samples, of Roland samples, and just all these different samples. And then I'd put them in on an individual track like yourself, so I could tailor make each track. And then in Logic, I would just go into the piano roll and just go up and down until one stood out to me. Just going up and down these different samples, and it works really well.
Yeah, sort of things like that. And so I want to sort of continue that a bit more with synths, with other things. Like I'm in some ways it's great not being sort of you don't save. I don't save every sort of synth pad I come up with, or lead or something, and go, right, I must save this. A lot of the time it's just saved in the project, it's there, and I don't necessarily save it out into preset folders and everything else, which is nice because I'm almost always sort of starting from a blank sort of slate and creating, but it's very time consuming, and sometimes it would be great to at least have a good starting point and go, I like all these sounds and these work well. Maybe I'm going to edit this sound today and create another one. Or when I create something nice, to actually save it, because it might be useful in another song. And I often don't. I just go, that was nice, and move on.
No, I know exactly what you mean. There's a particular bass patch, or preset rather, that I use in Serum whenever I'm writing now. And it's just my go-to. And it just speeds up the process so much. And that's helped me no end with regards to doing that. But I know what you mean. I can't remember the last time I saved a preset, because I get like a preset and then I'll tweak it and whatnot, but I cannot remember the last time I actually saved one that I made a change to.
Yeah, and you've made changes to it and save it in your own way. Yeah,
should probably do that, to be fair.
So I think I need to streamline things.
Yeah. Out of interest, for the audience listening, you mentioned there about, right back at the beginning, Spotify numbers. Obviously, I don't want to get too bogged down on Spotify numbers, but what did you start the year at in terms of listeners, monthly listeners? Can you remember?
I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I might have managed to hit 10,000, but before the beginning of the year, but I'm not sure if I had. It was either just under that or sort of around that kind of figure. Yeah. But I managed to. Well, I managed this year to sort of, I think I went over, I nearly sort of 26, 27,000 was my sort of peak during the year. So that was, I think my monthly listeners, it must have been more than that, because I seem to remember looking at Spotify for Artists here, that Spotify for Artists tells you sort of all these lovely facts, doesn't it? Which you look at far too many times during the day, if you're me. I think over the last 12 months, my listeners went up 132%.
Wow, and that's decent, man.
My streams went up 164%. So it was a good year from the stats point of view,
Yeah. You've got me looking at doing this odd air here, looking at myself for the past 12 months. That's amazing, though, getting over 26,000. Did that open up a new feature on Spotify out of interest?
No.
Because I've heard something about... there we go, then.
New. I was like, when I get something nice? No, I didn't see anything.
I thought... I read something about... You could... I don't know. It was like a 30%... something or other, which then meant it would improve your discoverability, but you had to have over 25%, 25%, over 25,000. I've crudely described that because it's only something I heard about this week on another podcast.
I don't know if algorithmically it has changed something. I certainly find that a thing I've learned more than anything this year from doing that is that I think people often get very bogged down in sort of how many streams they're going to get from a playlist or this, that or the other. But I think the thing that's really important is triggering the algorithm itself. Yep. And if you trigger the algorithm and Spotify Radio and, Discover Weekly and all the other algorithmic playlists, if you get on them, and you will only get on them if Spotify sees people liking your song, saving your song, listening to your song, which does mean getting on other user playlists. That's very, very helpful, Submit Hub and other things. But they've got to see enough positive stuff. And if quite quickly after you release it, and if they do, then algorithmically you get pushed out. And if they don't, you don't get pushed out, and it gets buried, pretty much. So if you get it pushed out, you will see a big boost in your monthly listeners, more than likely. But it's not actually, the boost isn't off one particular playlist. I don't go on one playlist and get loads of monthly listeners.
Yeah.
I will get 100 extra monthly listeners off a playlist or something maybe. But that's great. But it's really what happens with the algorithm that makes the difference. So.
Totally agree. And it's something I experienced this year. And because previously I hadn't really paid a great deal of attention to it. But, for example, going through the playlists here in the last 28 days, you've got radio plays, mixes, smart shuffle, daylist, release radar, your DJ, Discover Weekly, blend, all Spotify.
All Spotify algorithmic.
Yeah, and that's the bulk of my streams. That's where the bulk of my... And there's one playlist, which is an outlier where there's loads. I got that through Submit Hub because I had some money left over, and I was like, sod it. I'll apply to some playlists. And I got lucky to get on this one in particular. But I've noticed this, in particular radio. If you can start to get on that on the radio, Spotify radio, then you can see quite quickly. You can see a hockey stick curve, and I've seen that a few times throughout this year.
Yeah, definitely.
If you can trigger that, then you can quite quickly grow.
Yeah, I think that's very key for a lot of artists. But that does mean getting on user playlists and whatever. And Submit Hub's a brilliant place to do that, I think. But again, it's not that you've got to look and go, how many streams am I going to get from your playlist? That may not be all that important. I mean, it is to a degree, but it's most important that Spotify sees sort of listeners listen to your track, play it again, save it, all these certain things that they judge. But you've got to get it out fairly quickly once you've produced the track, released it, and get people's to listen to it over the next 48 hours even, I think, is quite important. And
I think ultimately as well, you've got to have something half decent, which helps.
That helps.
I think it boils down to that, really, doesn't it?
True. Yeah.
You've got to have something that somebody wants to listen to.
You have a point.
Yeah, which is quite easy for me to say. But I think that's where a lot of it stems from. Obviously you can release, but if you're releasing something that no one wants to listen to, which I don't know, I think ultimately, I don't know, sweeping statement, but there's an audience for everybody's music. So that might be totally wrong. I mean, I don't know. What I'm trying to get at is if you like it, then there's going to be somebody else out there who's going to like it as well. I think that's where I'm trying to go with that. But yeah, it's Spotify interesting. Yeah. Just your family are just on loop over and over again. Yeah. I
mean, it is. I think a lot of us find. I mean, genre, that whole sort of pigeonholing, and that can be very hard for artists because it can just be hard if you don't really sit in some sort of genre or whatever. It can be hard to find a home for your music and people who really like your style of music if you don't really write music that sort of neatly fits in something. But I think it's still possible, but I think you need that combination of sort of good music, determination, and good promotion, artwork, all those things. But you do need to find some, there will be, as you say, somewhere there will be a niche of people that like what you do.
Yeah.
And you need to sort of fit in and find that.
What do they say? You've got to find your tribe. I believe that is. I might have coined that from someone, and it could be Damien Keys. I might have coined that from.
Right. Yeah.
Could well have coined that from him.
Yeah, he used to rehearse in my studio. I know, Damien.
Yes, I remember this story. Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah. He's a wise man.
Yeah, lots of interesting stuff. So, thank you, Tim, for sharing that. I think that's one that I'm always looking to do as well. In particular, processes and systems, and just improving and doubling down on what works, I find. But moving on to mine.
Yeah.
And this is something I did start this year working on, and this was more collaborations. Now I've collaborated with Indigo twice this year, so with vocals on a couple of tracks, which has worked really well. But it's something that I want to work on more in 2026. So less working in a silo by myself releasing tunes, but actually getting other people involved as well. Notably, what I'm going to try and do in particular is reach out to the local area. So I'm based in Devon in the UK, in the southwest. So see if I can reach out and start making connections with some local artists, notably singers. Is the one that I want, because I love having vocals on my tracks. I really do. I mean, I like doing instrumentals, but I find the most enjoyment when I hear a vocal bring a track to life. Basically, that's what really wins for me. So that's what I want to do more of in 2026. And it's going to broaden my creativity in terms of music, but also reach as well. So reaching a new audience. So as we all know, collaborating with someone is then going to, by its nature, is going to expose you to their audience as well. So I do that with the podcast, for example. So I'm looking to do that more in 2026. I've set myself the goal of 3. So 3 totally new collaborations, people I haven't worked with before. So we've collabed on a track, Lost and Found, which still chugs along nicely. PRS, thank you very much. We got £1.50, I think, this year from that, which was nice. So got £17 in total. But there we go.
Yes, you topped me there.
All adds up.
I got £12.50.
Did you? Yeah. When you see it all come in from different angles, PRS, PPL, I think I got about a penny.
My publishing, Song Trust, has actually just gone past, because unlike you've signed up with Centric, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
And so the plus point of Centric being that you don't have to pay anything up front. You sign up and they take a little bit more, don't they, in the background? But to be honest, it makes a lot of sense doing it that way. But I signed up with Song Trust, and I've made $108, which means I've actually paid back my £100 that I had to pay, $100 that I had to pay in the first place. So, I'm actually going to start making some money from it eventually.
I haven't had anything from Centric yet, so I'm waiting for that to materialise.
It takes forever.
I have no doubt. It takes them forever just to register one of my songs, and that takes bloody long enough. But much like yourself, this year I finally paid back the £50 that I paid PRS over 10 years ago when I was a student to join. Yeah. So I'm now making money from PRS, which is quite nice. Hopefully that continues.
Always say to people, I think it is a bit of a pain to set all those things up, but it's worth it in the end, although that may be quite some way in the distance. But once you set it up, it's relatively easy to use them. I mean, once you've got publishing admin and PRS, for instance, set up, you just go in and add your next track on your publishing thing. Very simple process normally, and that's it. They do the rest with PRS and everything else, and you don't have to do all of that. So it all works out in the end, I think.
Yeah, that's one thing I realised this year with Centric. It makes it a lot easier because previously, when I was just doing it on my own and I hadn't registered before I'd registered with Centric, and I had to do it on PRS myself. But it just takes a bit of time. Got to wait. It's a bit of a pain in the arse. And then when you get that WC code, then I have to go back and then make sure, like with BBC Introducing, I have to put it in there to make. And I mean that takes about a year to get any money from that. From being played on the BBC, it's the turnaround of it is quite long. They
like playing your stuff though. They don't like me.
I am 5 for 5 this year with BBC Introducing.
Yeah, I know. It's impressive. It really is.
In the Southwest, so not the biggie yet. It's been listened to by the main radio, like the dance, basically. I think the rock and metal show, the metal show, listened to it, or the rock show, and I was like, I'm not entirely sure why it was attributed to them, but thanks for listening either way. But I don't think they were going to play it, and they didn't. But there we go. But I mean, that's one thing I need to work on. I had an episode on this way back when, about my reaching out to radio stations, and I am so shit at doing it. And like, I'll upload the BBC Introducing, and I've got a list of radio stations, about 30 or 40 radio stations in the database. Audience listening, if you want that, ping me an email, send me a message. Happy to share it with you. But I still, it's one of those things that I just procrastinate and never end up doing, much to my detriment, I think.
It's good that you've done the BBC Introducing though, because that's definitely good. It's something I forget to do with, but although I do think you're far more likely to get somewhere with it with vocal tracks. I do think they are not particularly interested in instrumentals, which is understandable. It's not really what most people listen to on the radio.
And I find length as well makes a difference. Like, I think the songs I put on there, just under 3 minutes till about 3 minute 20, 3 minutes 30, something like that. Yeah, certainly makes a difference. Not that I shoot for that; it just so happens that's the length of the track, but that does make a difference. But that's why I think, going back to my collaboration point as well, I think it'd be nice to collaborate with others in the UK to then submit songs in their particular region, which would be quite cool. But yeah, audience listening, if you're a vocalist and you sort of don't have to necessarily specialise in like EDM or dance or anything like that, but if you're a vocalist and you're looking to get on a track or two, send me a message, get in touch, because I'm going to look for extending my network, building my network out in 2026. So that for me is the big one. I suppose another one, if I was to add another one, I'm going off on a tangent here as well. It's touching on what we mentioned there about royalties with like PRS, PPL, publishing. Obviously, you've got DistroKid as well. But obviously, I say obviously, like everybody knows. So I retract that statement. But my YouTube channel is now monetized as well. So that's also bringing in money. I mean, it comes in like 70p to £2 a day. But it's another sort of income stream.
It's a lot of stream, isn't it?
Yeah, to add to the streaming. This is from music from the podcast, and in 2026, I think another goal of mine would be to see that to kick on and grow that, both with streaming music streaming rather, and also the YouTube monetization as well. So I think those are targets for me in 2026. Cadence wise, I'm quite happy with I think I put out 5 songs this year. I think that's worked quite well. Maybe I'll shoot for 6 next year.
Yeah, I sort of was doing quite well on getting one song out every month pretty much, and then this month is looking very unlikely unless I manage to somehow get something out by Friday, which is not entirely impossible, but let's face it, it's unlikely to even get on release radar at this current moment. So, I've just ended up not able to do anything the last couple of weeks, but it was really annoying. But I got out things most, kept busy. So I think that has a big effect as well. Like, you really want to be putting something out every 6 weeks, and it's like I saw where my monthly listeners were like at the end of my last release, sort of about a month later or whatever, and then I now just watch them tail off because because if you don't release anything and you don't keep that momentum going, I mean, yes, you can get it back, but like it is very much, if you want to build it, you want to keep releasing obviously good material. I don't think you want to just put out something that's that's the other thing, isn't it? It's like making things quicker, but like I'm thinking of actually doing a bit of diversification as well, sort of this year, if I can. I say it every year, is sort of I feel like I've got lots of musical avenues that I enjoy working in, and it's not just my R9 project, although that is my baby really. I sort of have lots of sort of back catalogue and all sorts of stuff that I've never put out, and I just sort of I've got that. I've got the top tier now on DistroKid, where I've got lots of artist profiles I can use, and
nice.
You know, I just thought, right, do it. Like, put out lots of these different things, and you know, just even if it's just my back catalogue, just release all these things that are just hanging around. And you know, some of them sort of band things from different bands I've done. Some of them are like solo projects, singer-songwriter stuff, some with other people. And it's just like, you know, I really don't want to just sit on music that I do nothing with. Plus, if I get those things out there, I might start writing something and go, oh, I'll put that out on this artist, or, you know, feed the different things I have. But it's hard to get them up and running, really.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. There are times when I'm working on stuff and I'm thinking I'd like to put a name to this and release it under a different moniker. And do that myself. And just because I see other artists doing it, other sort of tiered artists, a bit, maybe a few tiers ahead of, as it were. And I'm thinking it works really well. Just having I've got this particular sound, I can release it under that name. I've got this sound, I can release it under that name, rather than just having a name and then releasing a whole hodgepodge of different genres, which was kind of what I was doing. But I've sort of reined that in a bit now, and I know the direction that my music's heading. I think that does help as well with regards to the audience, because I can see that in my head, I'm guessing that the algorithm is figuring, okay, well, this artist is releasing this style of music. This is the audience, so we'll push it out to that audience. And that in my head, that's what would make sense. Whether or not that's the way it works,
I think that's very true. I think, like, you know, if it sort of works out. I mean, of course, on your appears on, and like, you know, what someone. It's the kind of things that say you go into certain playlists and other artists are played in that playlist next to you. It's that whole sort of thing of like Spotify's trying to kind of make a pattern that makes sense, isn't it? Of like where you sit next to other artists. And if you kind of just release totally different things and end up in totally different playlists with one week you produce a brilliant house track, the next week you produce a metal track. The trouble is, you are confounding the algorithm making sense of that. It is just like finding it really hard to, you know, always in a metal playlist, always in a, you know, melodic house. It doesn't make sense to the algorithm, and then you end up sort of falling between all of these stools, I think. So, yeah, don't do that is my theory. I suppose you could be renowned for doing a sort of style that is impossible to, you know, pigeonhole, but like, you know.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's one of the reasons why I've noticed my listeners have increased. My target was to get to 10,000 by the end of the year, and I think I'll hit that because I've got my ace in the pack, which is my Christmas song, which will dust off the cobwebs and hit the algorithm, and people will start listening to that again, probably early next month into December. And that will give me a nice little boost. So you can always rely on that around Christmas time. So that's always good.
I haven't done a Christmas song last year. I don't know if I will this year either. I have two already. Yeah.
Do you have two? Do you? I know
I have Christmas 84.
Yeah, which was I remember that one. And
that
what was the other one?
First one? The Truce.
Oh, yes.
Which is sort of based off of Christmas 84. It's kind of the same track, but sort of different.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, I said to my other half, I was like, what? I'm going to do a Christmas song this year. I'm going to cover one. What shall I do? And then the year got away from me. And then it's not going to, I don't think it's going to happen now. I don't think it will. I think I need the motivation and the enthusiasm to do it. And I don't, much as I love Christmas, I don't think I've got it now. But I'll let Christmas, Baby Please Come Home. I'll dust that off. And then that will start hitting people's ears again. which was quite fun. I think I turned that around in about 2 weeks, if I remember rightly. I think I did that quite fast. It's got Sleepless Nights on guitar.
Oh, yeah, it's a good track.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Folks, we've discussed long enough now and gone on tangents as we do with these episodes. So my target for you, or rather my prompt for you, if you've been working solo all year, who's one person you could collab with in 2026? So thinking about who you could collab with next year, or maybe just in general, what are you going to look to do or improve on next year? So you can send me a message in the episode description, and I'll look to share it on a future episode, probably episode 227, to be honest. So if you're going to be collabing with anyone, or you could collab with anyone at all, alive or unfortunately no longer with us. Who could you? I say that, but with AI now, so you could probably collab with anyone, to be honest.
Do a Christmas song with Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, did he ever do one? I don't think he did. I don't think Ozzy ever did. I know he released Changes. Did he release Changes with Kelly Osbourne around Christmas once? Possibly. Can't remember. But that would be quite cool. So there you go, folks. Send me a message. What are you going to look on improving next year? And also, if you could collab with anyone, who would you collab with? Tim, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for
thank you. Thanks
chatting
for
today.
As ever.
Yeah, I appreciate that you've been under the weather, so sticking around and doing this is I do thank you for this. And
that's fine. I haven't had any major coughing fits, which is good.
No. That's to be fair. Post, you can always get rid of those, or you can leave it in, like we did with the seagulls usually. But now, because it is approaching winter, the seagulls are less apparent.
Yeah, no, they're all hiding, I think. Yeah.
Folks, before we wrap things up, if you have enjoyed this episode, do consider joining as a member on YouTube for the less than the price of a coffee per month. And I do love coffee, so that would be a hard push for me. You get access to videos or episodes early before anyone else. You get priority replies to comments, and you get a badge as well. Everybody, if you love a badge, not a physical badge, but you get a badge as well next to your name. So please do consider supporting the podcast in that way. And if you've enjoyed this episode, check out episode 175, which Tim and I did. I think it dropped on New Year's Day last year, which has turned out to be, I think, the most popular episode of the year, or one of.
Amazing.
Yeah, episode 175, which is what's the secret to mixing without muddiness, achieving clarity and dynamics in a mix. It sounds perfect, doesn't it? The perfect pairing. I've got in my notes here, the perfect pairing with today's theme. It's not really, because we haven't spoken anything of muddiness or achieving clarity. But Tim's there, so there is a tenuous link. Folks, big thank you for this. I don't know. Thanking folks. I've gone off on a tangent here. Until next time, keep creating, keep mixing, and I will see you in the next one.